I feel like me just performing on stage in a wheelchair, people can be like, oh, maybe I can do that too. Right.
What's your story? What's your sign? It's like we're twin flames in a different life.
I'm HotWheelz. I'm Jalen Consul out of drag. I'm from Edmonton. My pronouns are she, they, he, and I am disabled and I am Filipina. When I came out, it was actually very anticlimactic. Like, I was actually very surprised.
Okay.
I have a lot of issues with my dad. He's very religious, so I've always kind of struggled with him. But, like, I take what I can get. My Filipina grandparents are actually really fantastic. The rest of the family, not as much, but they're amazing. They came to my first drag show, and that was, like, the funniest, coolest thing ever. Yeah. My little Filipina grandmother going into a gay drag bar.
My Lola could never. She could never. I love that story. My Lolo and Lola, I've never had the conversation with them, and for anybody that's listening or watching, Lolo and Lola is like a term for your grandparents in Tagalog. I haven't had that conversation about me being gay with them because I just imagine my Lola having like a heart attack or something when she finds out, like it's a telenovela.
My grandmother is religious too, so I was very, very scared. Like, I had a gay uncle and he was very taboo.
Nobody talked about him.
So I was very scared too. So I don't know, sometimes they surprise you.
And like when you're talking about your dad, my mother, I think she's very similar to your dad in that way where it's like, oh, I support you, but I'm not going to ever talk about it or share anything about it, which is much better for me than when I first came out to my mother. So to now at least be able to talk about it a little bit between the two of us is good, even if it's not a super public thing, if that makes sense.
I've always had a hard time with it. Like, I've been back and forth about it because it's like sometimes that half support is always a little harder. You know, like, is that full support of me, or is it just because you love me personally that you want to keep that relationship, which is great, but at the same time it doesn't feel like full genuine love and support.
Quite frequently I have this conversation with my girlfriend Sarah, and I tell her the same thing I'm about to tell you, where it's like I've spent so many years trying to introduce my queerness to like my family in small pieces and kind of hold their hand throughout the process, and I'm very sensitive of them because I know it's outside of their religion and what they kind of thought was normal in the world. And just like the small bits of progress, sometimes you get really excited by them, but also you sit here and it's like it's almost been a decade. It would be nice to have some full support rather than this like quiet, we don't talk about it support. So I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I feel for you. I feel that so much. It's always so funny when they try. Like, they do this little like, yeah, so like how's being gay? And I'm like, I don't know, good.
It's rough. It's great.
I'm having a great time, I guess. I don't know.
How's being gay? Oh, that's so funny. I've told this story before in one of the previous interviews, but I came out to one of my ninang. So again, for those listening who don't know Filipino culture, ninang is like your godmother. And I came out to her and she just looked at me, just so not getting it. She was like, what? You want to become a boy? Like, just totally off base. And I was like, no, Ninang, like, I just like girls. It doesn't mean that I want to be a boy. When did the kind of like embracing of drag culture happen? Because as I said earlier, you look amazing. I love to hear about that.
I started drag 6 months ago, and I was basically just doing it on TikTok, just like in my bedroom. And then I was like, I'm not going to mention it to anyone except my mom and my brother until I get booked. And then I got booked like a month later, and I was like, oh, okay. Basically, my dad is very big in money. Okay, so when you talk money with him, he kind of is more supportive. So if I'm like, hey, Dad, I'm doing drag, but it makes money. I got a show. I could make a lot of money. So like, and he was like, he was very quiet about it, like just not sure. He was like, women can do drag, and I was like, yes, they can.
Groundbreaking.
And he was like very quiet on the phone about it, and then I was like not sure how to feel, because like I was like, does he support me, does he not? I saw him in person and he was like, when are you debuting? And I was like, how do you know that term? And then he was like, okay, so my friend Rob, you knew him, you grew up with him, he's gay and he's a drag queen. I love my homophobic dad being friends with a drag queen and then hooking me up with drag queen advice. Like, my dad doesn't fully get it. Like, he doesn't really like understand, but he does, kind of. And then I told my grandparents that I'm performing on stage. And they got so excited. Like, all I had to say was, like, I'm performing on stage. I'm doing lip syncs. I'm celebrating my gayness. And they were like, ooh!
Yeah.
Yeah. And now they think they're professionals. And they're like, you're so good at drag. No one else is as good as you. Like, I don't understand. They don't think there's that good. And I was like...
Like, you're literally doing the most Filipino thing ever, getting up on a stage and like lip syncing and performing. Like, this is what we do as a basic concept, so it's so fun that like your family gets to be a part of it.
That's so true. I never even thought about that. But yeah, like, my grandma especially is very dramatic. I've been performing at her birthday parties since I was a kid. Like,
but when you were talking about your dad and like the total Uno reverse of him being like, and then, by the way, here's my gay friend, that just reminded me of my nanay. When I first came out to her, she acted like end of the world, earth shattering, and as if she'd never met another gay person, never conceived of it, yada, yada, yada. And then we were just chatting years later, and she was telling me about her best friend in high school who was a guy. And I was like, did you ever want to go out with him? Like, you seemed really close. And she's like, no, I thought he was gay. And I'm like, why are you so casual about the fact that you knew gay people existed, but when your kid came out as gay, it was like, hey.
Right? What? It's like you knew the concept. You understood the assignment. Where...
Oh, yeah.
What happened?
How has drag gone for you? Because you say you got booked super fast. Like, tell me how it's going.
I never thought it would move so quickly. I had these goals set, and they just happened before I thought it was possible. I'm working for Party Queens now. I'm an intern. They book drag artists all around Alberta, and then some places in Vancouver, and then we have New York, and we are putting on bi-monthly shows at a fully accessible venue called Collab. There's no accessible venues here in Edmonton that do drag, so this is the first one, and I'm fully a part of it, so I'm very excited. I'll be having my first hosted show in July, which is very exciting.
Amazing.
Yeah, so a lot has happened.
We need more accessible places and spaces for queer people in Alberta. Can you tell me a little bit about what an accessible venue looks like?
Yeah, for sure. My biggest thing is a lot of people say it's accessible, but it's not. So, like, say they have a ramp. What if that ramp is not... You're not able to go up and down it in like a manual wheelchair, then it's not really accessible. If it's too steep or anything, it may look accessible on paper, but it may not actually be accessible, right? Like, my biggest thing is also like, just because it may not have stairs or it may be accessible to wheelchair users, it may not be accessible to like everyone. Whereas like, say, strobe lights, like that shouldn't be a thing. Like, at least have an epilepsy warning. I feel like that's very important. Also, smoke machines. I'm so against smoke machines. Collab is fantastic. It hits all the marks for me. There's giant handicap washrooms. There's a nice ramp. Like, it's not too steep. It's perfect. To the green room, it's very big. We're not having any strobe lights. We're not having smoke machines, like I said. We're going to have volunteers all over, making sure people are safe and making sure people are comfortable. And we're going to have a nice little safe room just in case people need a minute to decompress. It's been so hard for me because I am actually very lucky to be able to be bi-mobile, or else I wouldn't be able to perform.
Yes,
I know
yeah.
that a lot of people that are paralyzed or literally cannot walk would not be able to perform in these spaces because you have to walk down these stairs. There's no elevators, there's nothing like that. So I am lucky in that regard, but a lot of people still view it as like, oh, she's faking or she shouldn't be in a wheelchair or whatever. But it's like, there's so much more to disability. It's not just one thing. It's been difficult, but I've been managing. I've been just trying to push my way into these spaces and be like, I'm here.
Just because you may not appear how society believes someone disabled should appear does not at all discredit what you're going through or devalue what you're going through.
Oh yeah, 100%. I completely agree with you. I've dealt with both. Before I was in a wheelchair, I was invisibly ill. I have full body pain. It's like all over my body I'm in agony, and it's been very difficult to move and to walk, and I am still struggling even just in my manual wheelchair because of my arms. People never think about how hard it is to push in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so difficult. It's so difficult, but I manage. I'm trying my best, but I've experienced being invisibly ill before, and it both have completely different challenges, but both are equally difficult.
When you use the term bimobile, I think I understand what you're saying, but one thing I've realized with my interviews is that sometimes we use the terms in the community and we all know what it means, and then outside listeners might not be on the same page. If it's all right, would you mind maybe explaining what that term means for our listeners?
Being bimobile is when you can walk short distances, or you can move, or you can, stand. Like I use a cane as well. Depending on the distance, I can walk it. It's still difficult for me. So I use my wheelchair as well. It's ambulatory wheelchair users is another term that people use, where they can walk, they can move. It's just the wheelchair makes it easier. I find wheelchairs are a tool that you can use to actually do things that you normally can't do without it.
Before this interview started today, I went through your TikTok page again, which I adore. I am your biggest fan. And you have, I think it's one of your pinned videos where you're coming on stage. I don't know if it's for the first time, but you're coming out there, and the moderator, I guess, like the other person on stage with you, they ask you about your name and where it came from. And you just so confidently and happily explain, you're like, well, I'm hot and I'm in a wheelchair. And I was just like, slay! I loved it.
I came up with that name. I was like, this is perfect. I love it. I love it
what
so
it
much.
is.
Right? Exactly. And I love using the term wheels. People call me Wheels all the time, and I absolutely love it.
Even in my experience and those of other POCs in the community that I've interviewed, often it's impossible for us to talk about what it's like to be queer in Alberta without talking about all of these different intersections of identity. How do you feel that affects your experiences in the queer community?
There's so many layers now. I didn't realize how much more difficult it was. And then on top of that, it's being a woman doing drag. That adds another layer, and I feel like the queer community still has so much more to go to fully accept everyone in their spaces, because just because we say we're inclusive doesn't mean we're fully inclusive. I also have a hard time being half Filipino. I never felt connected to being it, and then also I don't know, I never fit in with other Filipinas, and then I never fit in with white people. So it's always been this middle ground for me that has been very hard. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so I didn't realize that you were also half Filipina. Yeah, dude, this interview just got to a whole new level because I understand that experience 1000%. It's like you don't fit in anywhere.
Only people that really do understand is people that are half as well, or just even any POC person that is also half white. It's very difficult. I grew up with this struggle. I never even fit in my own family. Like, I've always felt like distance. There was always the term, "You're the whitest unwhite person I know," was like, ugh.
A friend of mine, while I was growing up, once told me, "You're the most Asian person that I know, but you're still pretty white." And I'm like, you know, it's the same thing, but just different font.
I don't even feel like a lot of people in the community that I'm in fully know that I am Filipina. It's like I'm not welcome or even regarded as one of them.
So you're saying, like, you don't even feel like you belong with, like, Filipino drag queens and drag community in Edmonton?
Yeah. I literally wouldn't even call myself POC or even Asian. Like, I literally never felt like I was allowed to, which is so messed up. Like, how I literally gaslit myself into thinking I'm just not. And it's like,
I
no,
get that.
right? It's hard when you never feel accepted or even included in it, that you're just like, okay, then I guess I'm not.
This whole, like, blood quantum ideology is not coming from within our own culture originally. That is a colonizer's tool. I find it really weird because I find, like, the broader Filipino community will either celebrate me and, like, kind of, like, put me on a pedestal for being half white, and then at the same time kind of like tear me down and say that I can't take up any space because I am half white.
Yes, just yes. My my mom's white, and she's actually been really great. I find she's trying her best to, you know, be like, help us with our culture, whereas the other side doesn't feel like they are that great with it. It's very messy. It's very messy.
I had the opposite.
Both are just so hard.
I just feel like such big sister energy kicking in right now. Because this is like something that as mixed people, we will always kind of, I don't want to say struggle with, but like, you know, have these conversations internally about, do I belong? Where do I fit? Because ultimately we're something new. We're something that hasn't been before. And so I've been on a whole process of trying to get in touch with my culture and learning more about my language and my history, because even if the world has told me and us that we're white, I keep having all of these experiences that say anything but. I just want to tell you, if you don't already know, that you have every right to take up space for your identity. And I just think that it's so sad that the world has made you feel like you can't, because who you are is wonderful and to be celebrated. And because we are two things, lots of people can't understand it. They don't have to, as long as we do.
Thank you. You're going to make me cry now. Like, oh. Thank you so much. You have no idea how much I needed this. It's been like a big issue. Me and my brother talk about it a lot. And my mom was like, I didn't realize how much you guys struggled with this.
Yeah.
And that just means so much to me. And it feels good to talk to another person that completely understands and, you know, wants us to just exist and be happy where we are.
We're talking a bit about this amazing accessible space and how great that is for you to have. Is there anything that you would like people to know about, like, the experience of being queer and disabled in Alberta? Like, are there any other things that you can think of that you really want to talk about?
My biggest thing is my diagnosis, and that there's so many more complex diagnoses that people don't realize. And I really want people to think about, like, you don't know their story, and maybe don't judge it unless you actually know what it is, because I haven't exactly talked about my diagnosis yet. I have recently been diagnosed with a thing called alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency. My grandmother had it on my mom's side, and she passed away when I was younger. Thankfully, my story might be different, but basically it's mostly in your lungs and liver. Alpha-1 is where there's like this thing called alphas in your body that protect your body from white blood cells. White blood cells will attack anything that enters your lungs, but they won't stop. So they'll start attacking your actual lungs. It's an issue because there's not much that can be done about it unless it gets really, really bad. And so far, it's not bad yet. So my biggest issue is my lungs. My wheelchair helps me with my breathing almost, because if I'm not walking too long or running or dancing around on the stage, I'm not having an asthma attack. My wheelchair isn't just because I have body pain, it's because of my entire body. I think that's just very important for people to realize, that there's a huge, vast majority of different things that could be the reason why someone's in a wheelchair.
When you think about somebody in a wheelchair, you often think that it's just a mobility issue or a mobility difference. And so to hear that there's so many other layers of what could be going on, I think it totally opens, like, then for my brain, I think if I was to like organize an event or something, these are more considerations that maybe wouldn't have been my first thought.
I'm just really glad I get to talk about it and to bring it to light. And just this is so great what you're doing. And I think it's opened that door for me to actually talk about these issues and just talk about my identity and my purpose in the drag world.
So you said something really interesting there, your purpose in the drag world. What comes to mind when you say that super epic statement?
I want to bring more disabled people. I want to create an army of disabled people that are performers.
Yes.
You know, like, there's just not enough. I feel like me just performing on stage in a wheelchair, people can be like, oh, maybe I can do that too. Right? Like, I just want it to be possible for people and easier for people. And with this new venue, I could maybe make it easier.
If you could go back in time and tell something to your younger self as the amazing, garnet, fabulous person that you are today, what would it be?
My biggest one is that you don't have to follow other people. You could just be yourself. Like, you don't have to try to fit in. My biggest thing when I was younger was I was trying to fit in. And I would stop doing the things that I love, and I would stop being flamboyant and just excited, and I would be quieter. And it's like, you could take up space. You could be you.
Yes.
You could just be you, and people will love you for that. Like, it's kind of crazy, like, disabled, queer, drag performer, mixed, POC, like, it's just like, well, doesn't that make me more special? Like, I've been trying to shove that into my brain, that it just makes me more unique and different.
Genuinely, I think you're going to be, and you already are, such a trailblazer. I'm so excited to see where your drag career goes, or all the things that you do. And yeah, I just think this is one of the interviews that I'm the happiest to have done on so many different levels.
Aw, that makes me so happy. Thank you. I am so happy with my drag career, and I'm so happy with what I've been doing. I've won Pageantinta. It's a drag competition here in Edmonton. It's like a small little tiny version of like Drag Race, but it was like a big deal to me, and I'm just so excited for my future here in drag, and to just be like, yo, I'm here. But I'm mostly on Instagram at the moment, so if anybody wants to find me there, they could find me at HotWheelz Baby 28.
And if all of the listeners and viewers to this episode do not immediately run over to their socials to follow you, I'm gonna be upset. And it takes a lot to make me upset, so just saying.
We're dreaming.